Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Canon, and my project is about course scheduling for student success. So as I chose this topic, I was thinking about students in my perspective, as those that work or those that are in athletics or those that have families. And one problem that I guess we all have in common is, ooh, I want to take this class, but shucks, it doesn't fit into my schedule. So as I was taking all of that into consideration, I kind of wanted to go into deep as how do we schedule our classes at UH Hilo? Like, why is, for example, Management 490 at this time? Why can't it be at an earlier time that I'm more available? So just an overview of what I'm going to be talking about in my presentation is just why we should choose UH Hilo College of Business. I'll also bring up my beginning SWOT analysis, some constraints that affect class scheduling, what we might do or what we can use that we already have the resources for, so we're not bringing in something totally new, and my ending SWOT analysis, and an example of a college that I found where they take a solution that I'm going to mention and how they use it with their, I guess, with their class availability or their student enrollment and their student performance. So first off, we'll look at UH Hilo College of Business. It is, of course, AACSB accredited college. Like Carrie mentioned, we and UH Manor are the only colleges in Hawaii that are AACSB accredited, which we should take advantage to, because if you go to, like, for example, Northern Arizona University, which I attended, they aren't. But then again, they have, you know, a big facility, they have a college of business, but then again, you're close to home and you're paying a lower tuition rate. Second off, we have small class sizes here, which is something that we definitely need to take advantage of, because we're not sitting in a classroom filled with 100 to 200 students and we're trying to, like, raise our hand or email the professor after class, you know, trying to ask him, hey, can you go over what you just said in class? So we can actually have that close one-to-one interaction with our professors. And lastly, we have, like I mentioned, excellent faculty and staff. They're always available. They have, you know, office hours pretty much 3 times a week, where we can go in and sit down and, you know, ask about the class. We can ask about, you know, our future plans, and we can, you know, just hear their feedback, for example, projects like this. So to get everything started, we'll go ahead and look at the beginning SWOT analysis. So for some strengths that we have, like I mentioned, our small class sizes is a benefit to us, which we need to utilize more. We have about overall, if you look at the UH website, UH Hilo at a glance, our student to faculty ratio is 1:18, and our average class sizes have about 22 students. Another strength that we have is 90% of our faculty at UH Hilo is full-time faculty. So, you know, we're not dealing with just like a student teacher. You know, pretty much our faculty is always going to pretty much be here on campus. Some weaknesses that we do have, though, at UH Hilo is low graduation rates. In 2011, according to collegeresults.com, our four-year plan graduates, our percentage is at 11.8%. For a 5-year plan, it's 28.9%, and our 6-year plan, it's at 36.3%. Which is nothing wrong with that at all, you know, as long as we're getting, you know, students a good education, that's the main thing. But then again, you know, we want to try and increase that 4-year to 5-year plans, because, you know, the longer we have the students here, then it's kind of more they're carrying them on, and they're like thinking, oh, am I going to graduate? And what happens if there's, you know, course scheduling that affects them, where they won't be able to graduate in that 6 years. And for opportunities that we have here, there's students that want more classes. We are demanding more classes. For example, this past summer, Management 490 was offered because there was, you know, a whole bunch of students that said, hey, you know, I want to go home, and because this is my last semester, so what can I do to graduate on time? So of course, you know, they approached Professor Burke, and they said, you know, what can we do to get Management 490? And, you know, in order to have a class, we need to have at least 10 students to fill that class. And then another opportunity that we have is to try to increase student performance in GPA. So we do recognize student performance and their GPA, but keep in mind that because of the amount of funds and facilities that we have, we can't always schedule, you know, to match the students' needs, so it's kind of more or less what is available. And just what our threats, of course, we have other institutions. For example, UH West Oahu only offered 37 online classes this fall semester. So some of our students actually took advantage of that, and as you know, of course, the years keep on going on. If we keep limiting the amount of classes that we have available, then more students are going to take advantage and use those online classes even more. And of course, our other UH institutions such as Manoa, and UH Westwell. So the three constraints that I'm going to focus on is class sizes, professor restrictions, and student demand. So first off with class sizes, being that UH Hilo College of Business is in kind of a tight bind in regards to funds, we are lacking the facilities and funds to have more classes available. So if you folks notice, we pretty much own UCB 114 and K127, and that's pretty much where a majority of our classes are held. Now, we don't have any fancy building, to put all of our College of Business into one area, so we're kind of just using what we have. And secondly, our class sizes are only capped at 25 or 40 students. So 25 students is more or less the upper division courses, and the 40 students is more or less for lower division courses. But it is a good thing that we have small class sizes because we can have that one-to-one with professors. But then again, there's students that are, eagerly wanting to get into that class so they can stay on track with their degrees. And another problem is one section versus two sections. So for example, this class is offered, 2 sections now. But then, for example, like next semester, it's only 1. Or what happens, for example, QA 362, that class is only one section. We don't have 2, so we can't, do work or something around that time. Secondly, we'll look at professor restrictions. Professors are only allowed 3 sections per semester. So for example, Professor DePillis, she's already teaching 2 Management 490 classes, and she's teaching 1 Management 300 class. So being that they only allowed these 3 sections, what happens if she ends up in a situation like she has now, where she has 2 sections of Management 490, and we only have about 7 students in each class? She could have used, that extra 490 class to make it into 2 300 classes. So that's another problem that occurs. There's also semester rotations. Each semester, professors have to rotate their schedules. So if they're on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, they have to switch to a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. And then you have to keep in mind, if they were working from 8 o'clock to about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, they have to switch the times from about 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the evening. And lastly, we have to look at professor medical conditions. All of us, we do get sick, we have, health problems. But what happens if the professor, has some kind of medical history that we don't know about? For example, diabetes, anything that, they have to eat, they have to take their medication at a certain time. So all of that is pretty much constrained to how our class ability is. So, and lastly, we'll look at student demand. Basically, if there's no demand, there is no course. For example, Management 425, we haven't had it, I believe, the previous semester, but now we do have it because I guess we found a professor, correct, Professor Burke? And now there is, student demand, so there is actually a high enrollment for Management 425. Like I mentioned before, we are wasting resources having, 2 sections of Management 490 when we could have, collaborated just into 1 class. And we do have limited class availability. On this chart over here, you see that the amount of classes that each 3 institutions, UH institutions offered this fall semester. So we're only at 50, and UH Manoa and UH West Oahu did offer more courses than us. And then keep in mind, 37 out of that 73 that UH West Oahu was all online classes. So there is definitely an amount of students that are taking advantage of that, being that they can't get any courses because we only have 50 classes offered. So basically, what do? We pretty much use up all our resources.
Did I tell you can use a picture of me?
Yes.
I didn't remember giving you permission.
Which one?
To use my picture.
Oh, no. So basically, what do? We utilize all our resources. We pretty much don't have any money for marketing. We are at the help, stop, what can we do? So being that we already have summer sessions available, we should take advantage of that. So our summer sessions are 2 sessions. It runs between May through August. There's either a 4-week session, which is in the earlier part, and then the 6-week session, which is in the end. And then there's business courses that are offered during our summer program. Some advantages of having utilizing the summer session more is increasing graduation rates, student performance, and student enrollment. There is, this is a chart showing what our current, or this past summer's tuition rate was, which was at $248 for residents, and for non-residents it was $357. So at UH Manoa, they're charging $361 per credit to take a summer class from them. So what we need to be doing is utilizing, or saying to everyone, come to us, we have 200, we're only charging $248 a credit as opposed to paying $361. So come to us for summer school, don't go to them. Even though they might offer more courses, but tell them, come to us, you know? And then if you only look at it though, if you look at the deep picture of it all, our summer tuition is $3 more than our regular tuition, so which is not really a good idea at all. So if we want students to come to our summer courses, we need to either offer a lower rates or offer like some kind of discount rates, just so these students that are going to another island just to take summer school, or if they're coming back home from like another college in the mainland, they can utilize our summer courses so that we can increase our student enrollment. Even though it's only $3 per credit more, you know, every penny counts. And that's what we have to, you know, introduce to students. So the college that I looked at, the college that I looked at that utilized discount rates or offered students lower tuition during the summer was Richard Stockton College of New Jersey. So what they did, of course, they offered discount rates for their students, and they increased their student enrollment. They also increased their graduation rates, and the students also did surveys saying that they felt more relief throughout the semester because they didn't feel like they had to compile so many classes, like for example 5 to 6 classes per semester. So for example, Richard Stockton College, like I mentioned, this is what their in-state and out-of-state tuition is like. Of course it is more expensive than what UH is, but keep in mind they are a mainland college and it always is in New Jersey. But what they offer, their summer tuition is $229 per credit. So that is actually much less than us. And what they advertise on their website is for students to come to their college to catch up with their degree. They can stay on campus as well if they wanted to, but we need to be advertising, you know, lower tuition rates during the summer so that we can get all these students, you know, traveling or anything to come to UH. And then for my NE SWOT analysis, I was able to, you know, identify all our strengths and weaknesses and our opportunities. Of course, there's always going to be those threats, you know, for example, the online courses from West Oahu, and as well as, you know, the other UH institutions such as Manoa. But we have to keep in mind, we have these resources here, why not utilize it? So in conclusion, we basically just need to fill our classes. In order to increase student enrollment, we need to increase our graduation rates, and we also need to increase our student performance.
Thank you. I know people are going to have questions, so we're meeting about this tomorrow.
Yes.
You said that summer session is very good,
Mm-hmm.
but the problem right now, you wrote, we need to fill our classroom.
Mm-hmm.
If summer session are offered, the classroom in fall semester are not full.
Mm-hmm.
We had that problem. How can you solve it?
Yes, I was speaking to Professor Burke about that. I understand, for example, 490, being that it was offered during the summer, next year, when they look at it and see what our funds are going to be like, they're going to determine, shall we give management 490 these extra funds, or shall we cut less of their funds? So we could either look at that number and see if we should be doing 490 more during the summer, or if we should either just collaborate into just only one class to utilize that. So,
Well, but I think Professor Drew's point is more, if what you're trying to do is distinguish us by having more people in the summer program, and you've come up with some ideas for how to do that. For instance, lower tuition, highly competitive tuition. But I think what Professor Liu is saying, if we do that, let's say we get all of you guys to start coming in the summer and stop paying tuition for some of those courses or sections in the fall, then in the long run we run the risk of reducing our revenue.
yeah. Well, then that's where it kind of clashes with student and, you know, faculty. I believe you kind of like have to look at both perspectives, but you have to also look at how is it going to benefit the college.
When
So I
you
think
looked at
that's where the
Stockton's, when you looked at Stockton's, was there any evidence about the summer students or like not their regular majors?
That I was not able to find.
Because that kind of thing would
Yeah.
interest me, you know. I think, and, you know, Dr. Phillips is right, they're having a meeting actually on this issue. We need to develop a strategy and a policy for how to do rational summer course offerings that get us revenues, but don't take away from other revenue streams.
Yeah, and I guess, I do believe in that. It's just, you know, it kind of comes down to, I guess you have to look at it different perspective, like the student's perspective, the faculty and the college. So hopefully we can save equally or come to a compromise equally.
I think institutionally we need to make a decision. I was on the summer school committee, and one question that was never answered was, is this to bring in extra money or is this to help our students graduate? Because those will send you in completely different directions depending on what your overriding goal is.
Yeah. Well, being that we get only 13% from the CCECS, but if you kind of think about it, it's only usually about, enrollment is usually about 10 students average or minimum.
It has to be 10 students to cover the cost. If you lower the tuition even more, you're either going to subsidize it heavily or you're going to have to get like 15 students to run class.
But then again, then it's kind of thinking, if we do high enrollment during the summer, shall we do?
Then it cannibalizes our enrollment in the fall.
For fall.
Well, one way I see your idea working is if we use that summer program as a way of distinguishing ourselves from our competitors, and we say we'll enroll you all year round, we'll get you out sooner, we'll get you out cheaper. You know, summertime can be cheaper for whatever reason because maybe we'll attract others. And that became a reason that there's evidence that suggests that students make decisions about choosing a college, an institution, because of offerings like that.
Well,
that would be a component.
I went to Northern Arizona my first year of college, and being that their tuition was about $15,000, faculty there don't really just say it out front, you know, graduate in 4 years. They kind of encourage you to graduate in 4 years, being the fact that you are paying for your tuition. So anything over that, you're gonna be paying extra. So they kind of really highly encourage you to get out in 4 years, so you're not paying that extra fee for that extra semester. So they definitely want you to graduate on time. But being that our tuition is low here, I'm not too sure if, you know, mainland students also see it in that way, by us, you know, kind of going back and forth. So, not too sure about that.
The other thing is, if we committed to offer enough courses, Dr. Burke, so we would have to commit to run them even if they only had 3 students enrolled, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that kind of program to distinguish yourself, right, that's what we're talking about, right? So people choose to come here in our program because we do run summer. And you're right, then we have to run a period. We can't say, oh, now we can't afford to run that.
Right, exactly. We have to keep that promise.
You have to commit to it.
All right, well, this conversation will be continued in our department, I
Yeah,
think.
tomorrow, right?